So I'm going to get started. I know a lot of people have the questions about the different programming types. And at this point, every school's on virtual learning mode. And so I'm going to focus mostly on the virtual learning mode. And I'm just going to talk briefly about the hybrid, because when it's time for hybrid to start, I'll have another Zoom meeting to allow everybody to understand how the hybrid situation will work. But for virtual, just so you know, that actually starts this Wednesday. Hopefully your teacher has already contacted you to let you know and talk to you about Classroom Dojo, which is the platform they'll be using, and also Zoom links that they'll be using as well for the live videos. So it starts August 12th. We do need your student registered so that they can participate virtually. So please, if you didn't turn in your paperwork yet, please turn that in. If you have any questions about the paperwork, you're welcome to email me or call me after the meeting, or call the front desk. 271-3060 is the front desk, and they can answer questions as well. Just so you know, it's going to be a little different. If you were here in the spring with us, the PED had different expectations and requested us not to, they requested us to have a lighter virtual model than we're going to be doing now. Now that the PED and we would be expecting as well, just a little more rigorous programming, because in the spring, I think everybody was hopeful that at this point would be back in the classroom. And so therefore, they just kind of eased out of the spring and wanted people to get used to the whole social distancing situation. But at this point, we do need to provide rigorous programming for you. And one of the ways we're going to be doing that is providing 2 hours a day of live Zoom group activities. And so that'll include a 30-minute with the teacher. And then after that, 30 minutes where you get to ask questions and interact with the teacher. And then there's going to be a 30-minute that each EA in the classroom will host as well. So that'll give you a total of an hour and a half with direct classroom. And then there's a 30-minute of story time or music time, and Nora will be doing an activity once a week as well. So you'll have it's kind of more of a since I don't use those words because high school uses an elective. So it'll be an elective that you'll have in the afternoon, probably about 2 o'clock for some of those. And then the teachers will be contacting the parents every week to make sure to follow up on how things are going with the live Zoom. If they talk to you and you're saying, oh, I'm still getting a little confused about this, or this isn't really working, because, then they're going to set up another time that they can actually work with you individually, one-on-one with your child. So basically, they'll be creating these individualized lesson plans for your child, and they'll send them out to you. And so if you're doing activities through the individualized lesson plans and you're like, I hear the plan, but it doesn't make sense to me, please talk to your teacher. The teacher will then be able to explain what the activity is about and what your focus is on. By the end of August, all that detail will be included in that lesson plan. For example, if your child is really working on just exploring things tactually, the activity will be there, and then they'll say, here's your IEP goal, independently explore new materials, and they'll put a little statement about that. So you'll know, oh, this whole goal of this activity is for my child to just explore it. Or if your child is trying to learn how to use scissors, it'll tell you that goal there. But I do ask you, because of so many students, the therapists have to put their goals in, as include that information on the lesson plans. The teachers have to include it. That will take time for them to build up and have it completed in regard to very detailed and very individualized by the end of August. Part of that delay is also the therapists are going to be testing pretty much almost every day, Tuesday through Friday, all day, and then having to write notes and stuff because of the fact that we're trying to get some testing. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But through this intense programming that we're going to be doing, participate as many of the live activities you can, because we're hoping that allows that social interaction. The kids can see each other on the Zoom. They'll get excited. It'll be certainly bigger pictures than we have right now, because it'll be just the class for the 3 of the live Zoom sessions. Therapists will be contacting you, and depending on how your child's doing and how you're feeling with the activities and ideas, they may also add extra Zoom live time with you to interact with you and your child, so that we can make sure that they're making progress that way. And once again, because of this next I don't know, it's 2.5, almost 3 weeks, where the teachers, the therapists and teachers are testing all the students. You won't have a whole lot of interactions with the therapist at that time because they will be working pretty much all day with the student at the school. So once again, if the therapists don't reach out to you, don't panic. You can always talk with your teacher, and then they can always pass on, or you can, call the school and get a message to the therapist, and they'll reach out to you if you had specific questions quicker, sooner than you have had a chance to talk with them. But it's going to be important, and the PEDs emphasized the fact that we need to make sure we're addressing your individualized needs. And we also are very aware, and I've talked to parents, and we as educators are aware, virtual learning is not the best mode of learning necessarily for each of our students. Some will do really well, some will not do so well. We do have to, I have to let you know that without support from somebody who works with your child, virtual learning will not work at all. I mean, it's not like you can just set your child in front of the computer and say, here you go, I'll be back in 30 minutes, have a good day. That won't work. So we really are hoping and counting on that parents or an older sibling or somebody who's able to work with your child is interacting at the same time, because our little guys are just too young to be able to independently succeed through Zoom alone. So we are hoping and that parents or siblings or neighbor or the daycare or whoever can log on and participate with us. Each of you should talk to, if you're unable to do it as the parent, but you do have somebody who can support, or the daycare can support. In the spring, we did have a daycare willing to do join us Zoom activities with the teacher. So if you're unable to do it, but you have somebody who can do it, just talk with the teacher, and the teacher will, make sure that we work with you to make it successful for you. It is a difficult time being at home. We do, the teachers, the therapists, everybody knows that everybody's trying to work as well. It's not like you get to stay home for free and nobody has to worry about working and you just stay home with your child. We know people are working from home. We know how difficult it is. Teachers have children as well, so they understand balancing your child's education with your work requirements is a difficult thing. And we also know how much stress that causes. And so please reach out to the teacher and ask, let them know what's going on so that they're aware, hey, this time does not work for me. Maybe another time during the day would work for you that the teacher could do with you individually. So if things don't work, please reach out to your teacher, see what we can work and arrange. We're trying, the governor's orders are that everybody stays home and everybody's in place. And so we're trying to follow that to the best of our ability, but we do have some flexibility. The teachers will be collecting data over these next couple of weeks while we're assessing to figure out, is the child progressing? Does the child need extra support? That if your child needs extra support, they're going to go ahead and schedule some extra time at home with you via Zoom. If that still doesn't work, the teachers do have the option to bring a child in one at a time. The trick is we can't bring children in one at a time every day because we don't have enough space. We can only have one child in a room at a time. We can only have, we have to limit the number of adults that go into that room. So we do have restrictions. So it's not like you can say, hey, it really would be best if he's just one-on-one all the time, all week long. That we cannot offer. That's just more intense than we could possibly provide. I know, when we go back, when they come to school, that's what they get. 4 days a week with a lot of attention, and that would be awesome if we could do such a thing. But with the restrictions of the governor and the Department of Health recommendations and the CDC's recommendations, we are restricted on how many people have access to the building. So keep in mind, and once again, I emphasize, communicate with your teacher. Let them know what things are working, what things aren't working, so that they know how to help you refigure out what to do differently so that it can be successful, because we want to make sure all children continue to make progress. We want to make this individualized, but if we're not hearing from the parents, we won't be able to know what you need to be supported to be successful for your child. So reach out, even if it's, even just letting your teacher, because I've already had a couple parents let them know that, oh, I'm working at this time, I can't do live Zoom. Well, then we're going to start, the leadership team and the teacher's team is going to try to start problem solving. What can we do to be supportive so that child can be successful and still participate and still make gains? So if your teacher doesn't know things aren't working, then they won't really know that they have to change things. They'll assume that if you're participating and you're speaking to them on a regular basis, and you tell them, oh, things are good, they like the Zoom meetings, but things are, if there's a problem, please speak up to your teachers, because they're the ones who are going to come to me. They're the ones who go to the therapist to say, okay, this isn't working. What can we do differently? And it's really a case-by-case situation, because each child is going to react differently on Zoom, and each child's going to react differently being at home. And we as teachers can't really predict that. During the Zoom meetings, we might be able to catch on some of it. We will be able to see some of it, but it's not going to be the same as you in the household seeing it day in and day out, what's going on and how they're reacting. So that's my biggest emphasis, is please talk with the teacher. You know, and if for some reason you feel like you've talked to the teacher and you haven't, you know, you don't feel like you're getting a response, then talk to me. Definitely reach out to me, because we want all children to be successful during this time. We don't want to say at the end of this year or end of this, you know, however long this virtual lasts, hopefully, you know, in September we get to go hybrid. But if this is going on for a longer period of time, we don't want to say, well, we lost a month of education for my child. No child should lose a month of education. Every child deserves to continue to progress and deserves and has the right to continue to learn. And so we want to emphasize, we want a rigorous programming that will help your child. But in order to do that, we do need support at home. We do need your interactions with us, your feedback with us. It's so important that we hear what's going on in the home and what's going on, so that we can then make recommendations. You know, you guys, you know, parents are not educators, and we know that. Parents are not therapists, and we know that. You guys are your child's first teacher. I mean, don't get me wrong. You guys are there. You know your child inside and out. You know their little nuances that make them so unique that you could see something and immediately respond to it. But it's not the same as a therapist saying, oh, I'm looking at this, try this, and why don't you turn his wrist just a little bit? Or why don't you position the hips or position the feet like this so they can stand better? Or why don't you, when you change the grasp on the pencil, or why don't you take, you know, give them a little extra time to process? Those are things that educators, therapists go through school and get training on to do. And I know you count on, when you send your child to school, for us to do such a thing, and that's what we do. Not all parents have that knowledge. You know, some of you do have that knowledge, and some of you have not had that training. So I want you to really rely on the teachers and the therapists to be your mentors during this time. If there's something that you're trying to figure out with your child, problem solve with your teacher, problem solve with your therapist. You know, let them teach you different ways that you can support them. And so we also know that's the other issue here during this online learning is, you know, technology. Not everybody has the same capabilities at home, and we understand that. And so please, I need you to reach out to the teachers. The teachers, if they've already talked to you, should have already asked you if you have technology needs. If it's not working, and the teachers will be assessing that as we go as well. But if you don't have a technology to hook up to the Class Dojo, our platform will be a lot of information will come through Class Dojo. So you need to be able to get onto Class Dojo and interact with the class. And so if you don't have technology that works, let us know. We will loan out equipment to make sure that everybody can do virtual from home and be successful. No child should not be missing out because they don't have the proper technology. And your teacher will be assessing that if something's not working technology-wise, or they think that you need something, a screen reader or something else, they'll reach out to our tech department and figure out how we can get something so that you can be supportive, so your child can access the virtual learning time. Going back on those lesson plans, I just want to make sure that you really understand they will be individualized, but it will take some time to get them completely individualized because therapists are very busy during this assessment time. So please have a little patience with us. We're really hopeful that as we get through August, I'm hopeful that we're back in hybrid, but there's no guarantee. It just depends on what the governor and the Department of Health considers at that time. But if we need to extend this, then we need to make sure it's successful for however long we need to follow the governor's orders. If for some reason you're not hearing from your therapist, you're not hearing from your teacher, please reach out to me, because there's no reason that a parent and a child isn't being interacted. If there's, I know we're all busy at home, but the teachers need to also continue to follow through, and so do the therapists. So if you're having problems like it's not working connection-wise, communication-wise, reach out to me so I can make sure that happens. we need to make sure that everybody's participating and everybody's involved. And so if you're feeling like you're not getting enough information, let me know what's happening so that I can also get involved and make sure that it is successful for your child. Okay, so basically until August 27th, the therapist will be doing those individualized testing that I'll be talking about next. Does anybody have questions about the virtual learning time and expectations at this time?
I do, sorry. Well, I know a call from the teacher, so I'm sure she probably has a time, but on your 2 hours a day, you said 30 minutes teacher, 30 minutes Q&A, and I missed the next 30 minutes. I'm at work.
That's okay. Anybody, don't apologize for asking questions. I want to make sure everything is clear and everybody knows what's happening. So in regards to the 30 minutes, so the teachers will be creating those lesson plans, and the 2 other 30 minutes will be by the EAs in the classroom. And that will provide the teacher time to be able to contact the parents individually for those who need that extra individual time.
Okay, and then with the nonverbal, I'm sure that therapists will give us help.
Correct.
I don't know. We were really looking forward to it because she's still nonverbal, but I don't know.
Correct. And so what we're going to do, something we didn't do, once again, per the PED and the governor's order in the spring, we were asked to really not send things home. We were asked to try to limit what went between the houses because we wanted to limit the possibility of transmission. Now we just have, they've knowing COVID a little bit better, although they still have a lot of unanswered questions in regards to the virus. But we have cleaning procedures in regards to how we clean materials, put them into a bag, seal it, and then send it. We can send it to you and we're calling them our go bags. And so therapists will be creating go bags, teachers will be creating go bags, and communication devices and picture systems would be the things that they'll be creating for children who are not communicating verbally yet. They also may do object systems as well. It just depends on where the child is at. So whatever communication system that they're at, they'll be sending stuff home specifically for you to use. And this is once again another time that you do, and any parent can do, is letting them know what you do frequently at home and things that your child can request regularly. Because school is different, we all know what we have at school is completely different from what you have at home. We don't have the same things at home. So at school, we create this communication system. We start using it. Once they get good, we talk to the parents at home, and then we can start trying to do in a transition piece. But you're at home now. And so if the fridge or food in the fridge is something we need access to, or water from the sink, our pictures may look a little different than what our pictures at school might look. So talk, with the therapist, the speech therapist, talk to them about, okay, they're nonverbal, and I want a picture system. And especially if I know your child hasn't come to school, it's all been virtual for you, which is difficult, I know. So you can reach out and ask the teachers from the get-go, could you send some pictures for us to start doing a picture system? And then they'll ask a few specific questions, like, okay, do we know they see photographs? Do we know that, do they see photographs? Do we know that, or can they see drawings? Because we also have drawing pictures that we might use, or we're not sure. They may also do size, size of pictures. They may talk about, okay, when you do this picture, do they recognize it or they don't recognize it? But teachers can ask some specific questions and then send some things home for you to try, and then get your feedback on how that works. And that's where the parents' interactions are going to be so key, because typically we are there with them in person and we're doing it. We might be able to do a little Zoom session where we say, okay, this is what I would do. Hold those pictures up, ask this question, and then they can see how the child reacts to see if they're actually seeing the pictures. Because with the visual impairments, we can't be confident the child sees the pictures at this time. So we might need to move to an object system. So that's those individual pieces that the teachers and the therapists can tease out with your support in the home. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Are there other questions in regards to the virtual learning process at this time?
Yeah, I might have missed it. I'm sorry, I'm at work as well. But so this is 5 days a week, correct? If they're in kindergarten for the 2 hours?
Sorry, I didn't actually share that. So during virtual and there'll be times teachers contact you after your regular school time. It is 5 days a week for kindergartners, Tuesday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 2:30 is our typical school day. A Zoom meeting with you individually may be after those hours. Those live group activities will happen during those hours, and it will always be consistent. So for example, if I have a 10 o'clock Zoom with my teacher, there will be a Zoom 10 o'clock session all week long at 10 o'clock Tuesday through Friday. And for kindergartners, there would be one at 10 o'clock on Monday, because Monday's a half day going from 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock. So Monday's only half day for kindergartners, but it will be virtual via Zoom or whatever mode that is used. But those times will be consistent. And the reason why is I myself know that if you say, hey, Tuesdays and Thursdays come on at 10, Fridays and Wednesdays come on at 11, I'm going to forget and miss sessions because I'm very routine. I can plug it in my calendar and it beeps every day at 10. But if I start changing the time everywhere, I will forget. And so those live Zooms will be consistent once they're set up with the teachers. That will always be at that time. So it's always going to be a 10, 11, 12, 1, whatever is set up with the teacher. Those will be consistent. On Mondays, if those live Zooms occur during that time in the morning, so if you have a typical live Zoom at 10 and one at 11 for Monday kindergartners, that live Zoom will occur at 10 and 11 like they always do. Does that answer your question?
Hey, Paul.
Yes, thank you.
I have a question, Paul.
Okay.
For those that are in preschool, we're still trying to wrap our minds around having two different kids in school at the same time with two different parents that are working. And it literally is going to be absolutely impossible to have our 3-year-old in school 5 hours a day, 4 days a week. There's just, we don't, and to have our first grader attending school virtually as well. I mean, is there an expectation as far as time commitment from the parents to make our kids successful, or suggestions on what we can do with two different children and two working parents and how to actually do this?
Yes, and that we do understand that conflict, and that's where we're hoping for as much participation as you can, but that's where we do need to know when things aren't working. Like for example, you have two different kids, two different schedules, so they both have a 10 o'clock Zoom meeting time. Well, obviously they're both not necessarily getting Zoom at the same time, or they can't get the same kind of support they do need at that 10 o'clock time. For example, maybe your first grader can get on at 10 o'clock, but I believe first graders still need support as well. And so it's difficult that you're going to be sitting between two people. So we are asking the parents to do as much as they can, but if you can't attend the live Zoom, we are going to have teachers record them and then upload them onto a private Zoom link that they're creating. And that, once again, that's not going to start this week because there's a lot of technology needs we're also putting into place at the same time. But we'll have a live or Zoom, a YouTube private link that only the parents in that classroom can get access to. And so that the teacher can do a live Zoom activity that maybe your child cannot attend. And then you would be able to then turn around and say, maybe in the afternoon, put it on and work with them during that time. It's once again, it's not the best situation because the teacher doesn't get to see how your child's interacting at the same time. But that's where those times where you get to talk individually with the parent to see what's going on, and the teachers will talk with you guys to see what's going on and then maybe help support. There is no, there's no answering to say I would like full participation, but I know it's not realistic. We did limit, because I know other schools are saying you're live the whole time. You're supposed to, you'll get a 10-minute break, get off Zoom, go switch to your next class. And if you're supposed to be there every class period or you're going to be marked absent. We're going to be keeping track of who's attending and who's watching those videos afterwards, just to kind of understand your needs and what's working, what's not working. But there's not a set time that we have to say that child's not present at this time. We are trying to, request some, in the spring, we had some parents that did not participate in activities. And so therefore, this year we do need you participating, and we'll be contacting if you're not. But there's not a set time that we've said you have to do it. We do want to make these kids progress, and that's the balance you have to figure out is what can you progress and what can you balance with home life and school life at the same time, and still your child being successful. Our hope is that if the teachers and the therapists work with you individually, you can then integrate some of those things in some of your typical day without actually saying, I did that activity. Maybe the PT taught you how to do these things, and the PT shares an activity and say, well, instead of doing that specific activity, let us do an activity that's similar. I can implement those skills that the therapist is talking about, so that the child is making progress in those areas. So it's definitely difficult for you guys to be at home, but that's where I'm hoping that teacher and the therapist mentoring you and working with you individually will give you that skill and those knowledge that you have to implement it during typical everyday activities. Because if you think of a preschoolers learn everywhere they go. I mean, everybody learns everywhere you go, but preschoolers are truly the best learning situation for preschoolers is during a typical activity that you're doing during the day, that you plug in those extra skills and tasks to help promote those areas of need that your child has. If you're looking at a preschool activity, a preschool thing, they all love to cook. They all love to put our hands into the materials. So sure, I cook every day. Some of my children cannot help measure, but they can feel the material. I could put it on a table with them, and they can sensory explore that. So if the teacher's talking with you individually, they could tell you some of the things we do at school and how you can then adapt it into your daily routine to just let them sit next to your side as you're working on something and letting him participate or her participate, and allows them to get those growth that we want these kids to make through the year. But each one is going to be individual. I'm really sorry. I don't know if that really, it's so difficult to say each specifically how to do it and how much time to expect from everybody, because everybody's schedule is different. 2 working parent households is common these days. How do you go about providing, 5.5 hours a day of activities? Well, you can't. We're offering these live Zoom activities because it'll give the kids a chance to socially interact, and the teachers a chance to see how they're reacting to the activity they're doing, so then they can change their activity recommendations for you individually. In regards to, that's also when they call you individually, you could say, okay, we're just not getting to these activities. Could you wrap that into, say, hey, story time at night? Or instead of me doing it during the day, I just do a story time at night with my kid before I put him to bed. Can I do these things then? It's not that we're expecting these 5.5 to be consecutive. We know that you can't sit down and spend 5.5 hours with your child, because you got to stop to make your lunch. You got to stop to eat. You've got to stop to do work. But whatever you can do, and the best you can do, we know all parents are doing the best they can do. And then with the teachers and the therapist support, we're hoping we can thread stuff through your day, your activities in the day, so that you could be supported by how and what you do typically in the day. So I'm going for a walk with my kids. Now during Zoom, I like to take my puppy for a walk every day. I bring my kid out to walk with the puppy. Well, now we intentionally walk up and down curbs to work on the hip muscles and the strengths. Maybe, have the therapist talk to you about what can I plug into my day that would be therapeutic for my child to work on those things. How do I get communication throughout the day with my child, so I'm not doing it in a specific activity necessarily, but I'm getting that skill built up for my child. So those, during this virtual learning time, especially with our little guys, it's going to be different than a mid-school or a high school where you can just sit in front of the computer and work in a classroom setting and do their work independently. Preschoolers don't work independently. Our kids have unique needs that are above and beyond other preschoolers. And so we're going to really work with you to make it successful. And like I said, if it's not, that's where teachers can schedule with you a one-on-one session that you could come to the school and they can demonstrate stuff and show you stuff and work with your child, so that you can then take it home and apply it at home from what you've learned from that session. It can't be everyday sessions, and that's, if it could be everyday sessions, then it would be a typical school day, but we can't do that at this time. But we will provide, we're really going to try to work on with everybody individually so that your child's needs are met and your child is successful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I have a question in the box in regards to, is the pre-K going to stay as Monday? And yes, the off day we have switched this year to do extra deep cleaning on Mondays before the kids start on Tuesdays. The recommendations from the CDC is they say, well, if you should leave the area, and leave it for 24 hours or more, and then come back and clean it. So that way all the air particles have rested. And so that's just a recommendation. That they still don't know for sure how long particles stay in the air. But what we're doing is for cleaning procedures, just so you know, for during this virtual learning time, for when a child. So anyways, short answer, yes, Mondays will always be off for preschoolers. Tuesday through Friday will be preschoolers all year long, even when we go back to school. Kindergarten will always have half day on Mondays. But we chose the Mondays because what the recommendation is you do the deep cleaning. APS is doing it as well. We'll do this deep cleaning on Monday. So everything from the week before completely is definitely gone. Every day at school, cleaning will occur where they're disinfecting all surface areas every day once we go back to school. But let me focus on the cleaning procedures, like if your child comes one-on-one situation, because I know it's a concern. We want to make sure everybody's safe. And so what we're doing is we'll be covering in the room you're going to go in during the testing time. We're going to be covering shelves and desks that aren't in use. We're going to bring the child towards the center of the room with the materials that the teacher intends to interact with them. They're going to have them so they can just bring them in, work and interact with the child. That they're going to have activities that they're going to be interacting with them to kind of assess during the activities. And then as soon as your child leaves, they're going to be wiping down absolutely everything that the child everything that the child interacts with, they're going to be cleaning down, and anything in a 6-foot radius will be cleaned down as well. So then when the next child comes in, it's all clean and disinfected. Staff members will be wearing what they call the PPE, or personal protective gear equipment. And so staff will be wearing an apron, a vinyl apron. They'll be wearing gloves. They'll be wearing a face shield and a face mask anytime they work with a child closer than 6 feet. And so that's pretty much with our preschoolers. Every time you go to interact with the child, you're going to get within 6 feet to help them in some way at some point. So when you come, that teacher is going to be geared up. Now, we do know that kids are concerned about people looking like medical doctors, and they're going to freak out and not want to participate with us. And so for those, if your child is hesitant around doctors and face masks, please let your teacher know. So the idea is we're going to set up a screen close to the door as you enter. Teachers could be on the other side of the room with the camera on them. They're going to say hello to your child. Hey, it's so great to see you. Hey, look, I've got my apron, and put their apron on. Look, I've got my face mask, my face shield, or my face mask, and they'll put the face mask on. And then they're going to put on the face shield and then their gloves so that, they're going to put it in. And sorry, I got the order out. That's not the correct order they're going to put it in, but there's the correct order they're going to put it in. And so that way the child can slowly see them put on their gear so they know that is still the teacher underneath. That may not solve every child's problems, and we know that because some child still will have concerns seeing a teacher all geared up in protective gear. But what we want to do is make sure that when your child leaves, we can, dispose of the gloves, disinfect our gear, and be ready for the next child, so that we made sure that we've disinfected the whole area before the next child enters in the room for testing or working a one-on-one situation. And so that's why we have the Mondays off. We're going to be doing a deep cleaning of all the classrooms at that point. At the end of the day, after your child leaves, during the day, as long as they don't cough or sneeze, we'll clean that 6-foot radius. But if they cough or sneeze, the teachers get the privilege to go around and clean the whole classroom quickly before the next child comes, which is why all the shelves are covered in plastic, because it's much easier to just clean the plastic off real quick rather than cleaning each toy individually before the next child comes. And so during the testing time, that's how it will be. One-on-one may change, because if your child's the only child coming that day, they may leave the whole classroom open so they can interact with every object in the classroom and figure out, what they need to be supported. So during virtual, it'll be one child at a time. Before the next child can come, everything in the classroom will be disinfected in a 6-foot radius of the stuff that they've interacted with. Staff will always wear their PPE gear. And parents, if you're staying, we're asking you to wear your face mask. If you choose not to stay, you drop them off with a face mask. If your child can wear a face mask, we're asked that they wear a face mask. If they can't, for health reasons, if they can't because they just won't tolerate it, if they can't because the doctor doesn't recommend it, then that's fine. They don't, we understand they're preschoolers, and we do not expect preschoolers to wear their masks for 2 hours while they're here during the testing time. We know that's not realistic. Even as adults, we're playing in our mask quickly. So realize during that one-on-one time, during the testing or during the virtual learning time, that one-on-one time, we'll have protective situation. We have a procedure in place to make sure the kids are safe and make sure the staff are safe. But Mondays will always stay half day. I mean, for kindergarten and off for preschoolers for the whole year. And then somebody to follow up on that Monday, once we start back, once the kids can start back, Monday will always be a virtual day off, a virtual learning day, because of the fact we do want to deep clean. We can't have the kids half day and deep clean around them. We have to have access to the classroom for the day to really do the deep cleaning throughout the building. And so Mondays will always be virtual learning, half day for kindergartners throughout the year, regardless of when we return to school. And then Tuesday through Friday will depend on what program we're in, and during virtual, Tuesday through Friday is virtual learning as well. At this point, just so everybody knows, we'll be virtual, of course, until the governor lets us know otherwise. But at this point, the governor put that opening date as September 8th, right after Labor Day weekend. So hopefully after Labor Day weekend, we can have our hybrid situation open up. And so just briefly, I'm just going to briefly talk about hybrid, because until we are ready to go hybrid, I don't want to confuse between the two. But during a hybrid, if the doctor says you're healthy enough and you are able to, and you feel safe sending your child to school, Tuesday through Friday, kids can come to school every week. We don't have to alternate kids like APS is doing, because we have small classrooms. We're only having 6 kids in the classroom. We could spread those kids out around the classroom and keep our social distancing, and keep the kids and the adults safe in that situation. And so once hybrid comes along, your child can attend Tuesday through Friday every week. And so although at the same time, if you're concerned, COVID, obviously COVID is a serious pandemic right now. Lots of people have gotten COVID throughout the United States. New Mexico has a very small number relative to other states in regards to who's contracted COVID. But obviously COVID is scary and dangerous for anybody who contracts it. And so if you're like, I don't want my child going to school when we go back hybrid, that's okay. We will do virtual all year long for any parent who chooses to do virtual all year long. And if you do, then that's why those live Zoom times during virtual, those live Zoom times will continue to be offered. And the way that it'll be offered is teachers will turn on their camera at 10 o'clock. Teachers will turn on their camera at 11 o'clock, or whatever your set time was always, it'll always be turned on that time so you could join. As parents, if you wanted to join longer, teachers can keep their Zoom all day long on and just move from activity to activity, and your child can do virtual all day long. But once again, we do know that's not necessarily realistic for children who are staying at home. But if that's something you want, teachers can offer that. And with that, during that hybrid situation, if you're virtual, therapists could also just say, oh, I'll take you along, and you will join another child during a therapy activity with that child during that Zoom time that's always set for group Zoom time. So that's a quick snippet of hybrid. I don't want to go too much detail on a hybrid, because I'm worried that I'll confuse all the virtual information I gave you, and then we won't be for sure what's going on. But the virtual is where we're starting. We will be virtual until the governor opens up and allows us to do it safely. And at this moment, September 8th is the hoped time to open up. But there's obviously no guarantee, because things have to change and progress and be better before they'll confirm that we can open up. And we'll also make sure that everything here at the ECP is ready to go and ready for success, so that students will stay safe and healthy as well before we open up. But we have been, just so everybody knows, we have had a leadership COVID team that's worked throughout the summer, been following along during this whole pandemic, recommendations and changes. We've been, I hate the word stockpile, but we've been stockpiling PPE equipment, gloves, paper towels, disinfectants, throughout the summer, so that when it's time, when we do open, we will have plenty of equipment to make sure everybody stays safe. So we will certainly be working with, making sure that we have all that stuff. But we have been, like I said, I hate the word stockpile, but we have been stockpiling because you have a limited amount you can purchase, and so you have to buy purchasing over periods of time. And so we've been doing that throughout the summer. So we are ready when it's time to open up hybrid ed to be safe with the students and still follow all the rules and expectations that the CDC and the Department of Health asks us to do to make sure the kids are safe. Any questions about the hybrid situation when it's time? Okay, I started talking about testing. I don't think I hit everything on my list, but I'm going to make sure I have a list for this testing over the next almost 3 weeks. Like I said, it's one student at a time. We have 2 classrooms that we'll be able to have that are completely kind of separated, that the parents will go to. When you come, we have and I'm going to look real quick on my text to see if a response has been given. We have that Dr. Al app, and it's also a Dr. Al program. So at this moment, the Dr. Al app, or there's a link to just go straight to the Dr. Al ECP place. It's just some simple questions. Anybody coming to campus every day must, when they come, must answer those questions. And then you also take your temperature and put your temperature in. When you arrive at the school, we'll recheck your temperature before we allow you to come in. So the nurses, when you come, the nurses will ask, have you answered the questions on Dr. Al app? And and then you'd respond, and then ask if you were granted access to the building, and then we'll recheck your temperature before you get access into the building. That's just as an additional precaution to stay safe. So even though you check your temperature at home, it will be rechecked when you arrive. If you don't have the app, or you forgot to fill it out or do the link before you arrived, we do have an iPad at the front that when you arrive, you can say, no, I didn't get the chance to do the Dr. Al app. We'll then put you on the iPad. You can answer the questions there. There's just a couple quick questions about your health and how you're feeling. And then we'll check your temperature, and then you gain access to the building as long as the app says that you're able to access the building at that time. We do require, and I did state this, but masks are worn around campus at all times. The exception is when I'm in my office talking on Zoom, I get to take it off. So, but around the building, in any classroom, in any hallway, any office, the other offices, teacher's office, therapy office, people are wearing their masks all the time. So when you come, please bring your mask. Once again, if your child's unable to wear a mask, we understand. Still bring them for the assessment. That's why, one of the reasons why we're wearing all of our PPE gear, to keep your child safe while we're there, as well as keep the staff safe. I did talk about the cleaning. Everything will be cleaned and disinfected beforehand. And we are asking only one parent at a time come into the building. So please choose which parent, mom or dad, or you can have an older sister, an adult sister. Can't have, an 8-year-old coming into the building. But just one parent at a time, or one adult coming in at a time with your child, because once again, we're trying to restrict how many people are coming into the building during the virtual time. That will go for whenever you're invited for one-on-one sessions with your child, or whenever we're doing, during this testing time. So just one adult to come in. If I do know that, a parent said, oh, I'm nursing and I nurse every so often, there's no way I can leave them at home. If there's an exception, please talk to your teacher, and they can talk to myself, so we can figure out what we could do for accommodating those exceptions. We do know, just so you know, we are blocking off 2 hours time for assessing, and we do know that assessing is 2 hours. Our kids do not focus for 2 hours. So there will be breaks in between. Teachers will be planning breaks, little down times for the kids, so that it's not a straight 2-hour session. We'll try to get, as much as we can out. This is not going to be like a full-blown assessment that gets all the information you would ever want, because we take way longer than that usually during the school year, because we do it in parts. But a lot of that part of the assessments will continue to be assessed throughout the year, like we usually do it. But we just want to kind of get a baseline before school starts to give the teachers an idea of what they can do. So when they're developing those individualized activities, we can get a current kind of baseline where they're at right now. Any questions about the testing or one-on-one sessions? So I had, not that a question's come up today, but I had a parent ask, well, what if I don't want them to come to the school for the testing? Then we will arrange to do Zoom testing. It's certainly a little more difficult to assess through the Zoom as it is in person. But if that needs to be, if you are concerned and don't want to bring your child to school, we could certainly do assessment via Zoom. It'll be several sessions, not just one session that we bring them to campus. So I got to ask, because I'm not sure, I've sent a lot of stuff out to different people and I've read a lot of stuff over the summer, and I don't always know where, or, remember exactly where I've heard it or read it. Have I sent you the information about the Dr. Al app or link? No? I will send
No.
Okay, I will send Dr. Al app and link today in an email to all parents so that you can put it on your phone. It's just a little free app. Just so you know, if you plug it in, when I plugged it in, it said, oh, give me a credit card number or your PayPal just in case you spend money. Just say skip. You do not have to put a credit card number in. You do not have to pay any money for this. It's a free app. Just skip that section and it'll still allow you to upload the app onto your phone. And then once you're in, when it chooses school, of course, find the ECP, NMSBVI ECP, and click that as your location. And then you'll put in some personal information for your child, and it should at that point just pull you up every time you open your app. There has been difficulties with the app and the link because it's kind of a new program they put together for us for different organizations. So it's a new link and there's been some glitches. Don't worry if there's a glitch. If it says you can't get access or you can't answer all the questions, and don't worry, you can come here and we can do the questions verbally and then check your temperature. So if you have an issue, if the app's not working, still come to school when your scheduled time was. We'll get access to the school as long as as long as you're healthy and your temperature is okay. We can always ask those questions if we cannot get access to the app or the link. But it's gone down a couple of times since we started. We started it last week, and it's gone down a couple of times on us. But so don't worry if it goes down. Please still come to your appointment time with your teacher, and we'll just ask those questions at the door. Any questions about the assessment time before I move to the next topic? Okay, so the next topic actually is our nurses. They're not here, but if you're virtual and you're going to be virtual and you'll never drop your child off and leave them for an hour or two during a one-on-one session, then you don't need to worry about the medical paperwork, the physical, any of the feeding forms or the medication forms that the nurses have to apply, because if your child's never going to be on campus and you're virtual, then we don't necessarily need those, because we won't, obviously we're not providing any of the medical support that your child needs while they're on campus. If you're coming and you want to drop them off for the assessment and leave, so it's a 2-hour block and you say, I'm going to go to the store, I'll be back. That's fine. If you feel your child will be okay with that, you certainly can do that. But I just want to let you know that we have to have your medical forms then, because if something happens, we have to have all those emergency contacts. We have to know what the doctor recommends if something happens, so that do we have to call, who do we call when an emergency happens? So if you plan to leave them, please make sure all that medical stuff is turned in beforehand, before you come. For the assessment, if you haven't filled out your registration paperwork and your assessment comes up and you come to your time, then what we'll do is we'll hand you physical paperwork and ask you to fill it out while they're here. For all the things we don't need a doctor's signature. So if you've already filled out, you don't have to worry about what I just said about registration. But if you haven't filled it out, please fill out any registration paperwork that you can just fill out, save to your computer, and then resend back to Tiffany or I, and just attach it as an attachment. So if you don't, if you haven't filled it out, when you come to assessment, we will hand you paperwork. Nurses or Tiffany might talk to you about paperwork that we're still missing when you come to the testing time. But nurses will be available too. Nurses will reach out and touch base with parents on a regular basis just to see how you're doing. Any questions about what's going on, questions about your child's health, questions about COVID, questions about procedures for cleaning, any questions you have, You can always call and talk to the nurses, but they will call and talk periodically to parents just to touch base with you, because as I said earlier, it is a stressful time during this pandemic, and everybody's being kind of self-quarantined and isolated. To be able to reach out and talk to somebody is just nice and helpful and friendly. And so nurses will be reaching out on a regular basis just to see how you're doing, and answer any questions if you have them in regards to medical questions, or just questions about your child, or just questions in general in regards to medical areas. So the nurses will be available. Just call the front desk and ask for them, and they'll transfer you to their office. Any questions about the nurses? Okay. The last piece I have, is Nora. Nora Sandoval's our social worker here at the school. So she's online with us today. So I'm gonna let Nora talk to everybody.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Thank you guys for showing up. And I know this is a really intense time for all of us as parents and workers, and just trying to figure this piece out. It's been really, really intense. And so I know that this is trepidatious going forward. I do want to talk to folks about, for me personally, I'm concerned about daycare. I'm concerned about how I access any supports for my other kids. So how many of you are really struggling with daycare options for your family, as well as just resources? So, I really want to pick that up for each family individually, if that is your need. I need to know what kinds of supports you need. And so I'm looking into the daycare piece. I have a student at home as well as a 3-year-old, and daycare options are huge right now, trying to figure that piece out. The governor is trying to make sure that when this hybrid model does become a reality, that parents who work and have kids that are going to school are going to have options. So I'm not sure how many folks here are interested in that, but if you want to just, give me a general idea if that's information that you need, I will reach out to you specifically about what I've learned and what you can do. There's been changes to the child care assistance application process. They've increased that level, the income guidelines, so it's no longer as difficult as it was before. So I just want to know who needs that kind of support, as well as other resources like food resources, anything that has to do with the family unit. And I can do that with you individually, and you don't have to say it here in this forum, but I can do that individually. And the best way to let me know what you need is either to call me directly, or to let your teacher know that you need me to contact you. I do plan on going throughout the whole list of all the families and just contacting everybody individually. But that's really what I want to do, and make sure that you guys understand that is my role right now. I will do some social emotional pieces with the classrooms like we were doing before, but it's gonna look different. And the other focus I want to say is that, there's a lot of anxiety around the expectations that we have for ourselves as parents. Like, how much can we do? How much are we going to get them on? What are we going to miss? I have a 3-year-old home too. So, this is a time to be balanced and not get yourself too overwhelmed with what the future looks like, right? Because we just are going to do it day by day. It's going to play out every day. Because we, of course, are all going through this together. It's even as practitioners, us teachers, therapists, we're worried, right? We're worried. How are these little guys going to access? How much time can they be in front of a screen? What's it going to look like for families? Are we asking too much of people within their own home while managing other family things that are going on, not having a job possibly, or worries about just how people are managing? So I just want you guys to understand that we're taking all that into consideration. We don't expect you to be online experts. We don't expect you to be, folks that are on here for 6-7 hours a day and then, making this your number one priority. We know this is a priority for you, but we know that it's in a list of priorities that are mainly, taking care of your family first, right? So we just want you to understand that it's a process, and we definitely want to support you in all of this. And we're going to do it together because we also have a lot of questions, right? Does anybody individually need immediate information about childcare assistance or programming that's going to happen to help with the older siblings in the house? I'm going to be working on a lot of things like that this year. Please feel free to let me know if you come across information that you want to share with families. If you have had an experience where you felt like it was beneficial, please let us know what you see in the community as well. It's been really difficult. We had folks that like Explorabilities shut down over the summer, and so that was an agency that was providing therapeutic interventions. So I just want to make sure that people are aware of what's current and what's happening. So that will be the gist of my information sharing with teachers and with families. And that's all I have, guys.
Okay, so those were the items I had on my agenda in regards to talking about with all parents today. Are there any other questions or things that I have not addressed or questions, once again, anything I have not addressed or something I did address, but you wanted some more clarification, please let me know, or please ask so I can answer those questions.
Paul, can I just share something? So I just wanted to volunteer out there. So I'm a trained molecular biologist with a background in immunology and virology. To any families out there who have questions just about viruses and biology and like the effectiveness of keeping safe or those types of questions, I would volunteer to be available to anybody's emails or calls. I kind of do that for the community anyway, because there's a lot of information out there. Some of it's confusing. And unfortunately, some of the realest, most like cutting edge information is not always accessible. And so just to put that out there, I'll try to answer as best I can and be as unbiased as I can. And if I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. But I am on COVID studies committee at work. I work for UNM Health Sciences Center, and I'm the director of the autophagy and inflammation core facility. So I don't look it, but I'm a professional scientist. So yeah, I gotta fix my hair first. But if anybody has any kinds of questions about that, or if you saw something that doesn't jive with what you believed or you thought, I'm available for email, and I can share that email if you guys have any questions at all.
Would like to take Sharina up on her offer.
I'll share my contact information in the chat right now. And if you guys want to email me and just put in the subject like COVID question, then I'll search for them often. All right. Sorry, I have to get going. I know I ended late and I'm leaving. I mean, I started late. I'm leaving early, but congratulations, everybody. Let's hope for a wonderful year and whatever that looks like. I think it's going to be successful if we just all make it out safe and happy together and whole as families this year.
Thank you, Sharina. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Okay, so are there any other questions or comments before we go?
So just a quick question. I know on one of the previous letters or emails we've received, it says tomorrow we're also having a pair meeting at 9:30. Is that still happening or no?
No, no, that was the first, that one was a missed date on my part, where I sent it and I sent a retraction like right after it. So today was the parent meeting. There's not another one tomorrow.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I do appreciate everybody attending today. It was really nice to see so many show up to hear and ask questions and hear about school. And we do look forward to a great year. It's just going to be looking different than it has in the past. And so as we get through this, we'll do what's best for the kids. And we'll, like Sharina said, let's all get through it healthy and safe and make it a great year from all the collaboration we do together. You guys have a great day. Any questions, don't ever hesitate to call me. All right. Bye, everybody.
Hey, thank you, Paul.
You're welcome.